Sinners has become the surprise smash hit of the year, breaking records and raking in over $300 million so far at the box office. Starring Michael B. Jordan, Miles Caton, Hailee Steinfeld, Jack O'Connell, and more, and directed by Ryan Coogler, the film has managed to take things that are usually seen as harbingers of low audience turnout, like an R rating and the horror genre, and mold them into a film that's wildly successful. And it could possibly even save Hollywood, if the studios are willing to take the right lessons from this triumph. So what does Sinners tell us about how to make a winning film in our modern era? Let's take a closer look. While Sinners is certainly a technical achievement, its most compelling aspect is, of course, its original, well-drawn story.
This man wrote like you could not believe. That first draft was phenomenal, and I think it's really because the story was inside of him his whole life.
Reboots and adaptations have been a staple of film since its beginnings and aren't a problem on their own. But as we and everyone else has talked about, in recent years it has felt like Hollywood has been leaning on already known and loved names and properties, hoping for safe bets instead of ever being willing to take bets on new things. So it's been great to see this big swing with an original property aimed at adults really pay off in a major way. We unpacked the story and its symbolism at length in our first video on Sinners, which we'll link below if you haven't already watched it. The story succeeds because it isn't afraid of specificity. It is very of the time, place, and culture within which it's set. This allows the film to hone in on the details of the aspects, adding depth and making the entire world feel both more lived in and relatable.
It's combining a lot of different elements into one uniform dish that's beloved. My family is known for making some of the best gumbo, and this was my opportunity to make some cinematic gumbo.
Each character feels like a full person. They have universally relatable traits for us to connect to. Sammy's desire to follow his true passion, Annie's conviction, Stack's fiery personality, etc. But they aren't made to feel like paint-by-numbers cutouts meant to just slot into well-worn tropes. Everyone has a deep interiority that's always bubbling under the surface and guiding their choices. The music becomes its own character in the film, weaving through time and space to connect souls across the realms of past, present, and future. Hollywood, in its larger budget films at least, has long seemed more interested in aiming for the middle, trying to sand down any specificity or uniqueness within stories in the hopes of making them as palatable to as wide an audience as possible. There's certainly something to be said for the comfort that can come from films that follow paths we've walked a million times before, but that shouldn't be every film. But with Sinners, we can see how much audiences have been yearning for just the opposite. People enjoy getting to know these specific characters, not knowing exactly what's going to happen next or where things are going to end up. Ryan Coogler has one of the best track records in the game. His first feature film, Fruitvale Station, had the third highest limited release opening weekend of 2013, and was also a huge critical success. And he's also helmed big-budget blockbuster Black Panther and its sequel, as well as Creed, a spin-off of the beloved Rocky series. But even with all of the success under his belt, there was a feeling that this film was a big gamble. Not only is it a period piece, it's also rated R and a horror movie, and isn't afraid to get a little fantastical. Hollywood execs often like to try to shroud their own prejudices behind a feigned concern over, oh well, the audiences just won't want to pay to see that sort of thing. But that just isn't true. It has been disproven time and time again, and Sinners is yet another shining example. Now, of course, we know that taking the chance more than paid off. But Sinners didn't only take a risk with its choice of thematic and visual elements, it even took a chance on trusting the audience, something else that has been lost in recent years. There's been a growing idea that films and television shows shouldn't see themselves as the main focus of their audience's attention, but instead just auxiliary entertainment to make noise in the background while people scroll on their phones. This has led to a huge swath of made-for-streaming content being forced to essentially note aloud everything that is going on, or that might be important so that people not paying attention can still keep up. But this has even bled into films that do get a theatrical release amid concerns that no one will have any idea what's going on if you aren't constantly explicitly telling them. Sinners, thankfully, chose not to take this route. Instead, the film focuses on the storytelling, knowing that the people who connect with it will get it, and those who don't, or miss something, will have plenty of explainers to read and watch once they leave the theater. This allows the film to feel like an actual film, a cinematic experience, and not just content. All of this chance-taking and storytelling was made possible because Warner Brothers was willing to believe in Coogler's talent and let him create what he wanted to create. Studio meddling has been the ruin of many a film and TV show, and when things seem risky, producers can sometimes get cold feet and start trying to turn things back in a more milquetoast, safe-feeling direction. Warner Brothers was willing to take a chance on letting Coogler's creativity run free, and why shouldn't they? He's more than proven himself to be a capable, adept director who can turn out hits, and in the end, were also themselves able to reap the rewards of the resulting success. There was a lot of hubbub about Coogler's deal with Warner Brothers for the movie, which was a bit out of the norm, but certainly didn't come out of nowhere.
I'm not the first filmmaker to get any of these deals. I've been in the industry long enough to know what kind of deals are possible, and nothing about this deal is a new thing.
As Holly Van Leuven explained for Morning Brew, Coogler reportedly sought $90 million for Sinners with a few strings attached. He needed to retain control of the film's final cut and receive a percentage of the box office gross from the beginning of the film's theatrical run, rather than waiting for a cut after it became profitable, which is more common. But he also insisted that ownership of the film would revert to him after 25 years. Warner Brothers agreed.
He owns this film.
Yep.
This is a original screenplay. All this is his. So that was a power move too.
Once news of this deal leaked after the release of the film, there were clearly some ruffled feathers amongst the Hollywood elite, with some claiming that this very successful film doing very well could actually be bad news for Hollywood, because it might mean that the studios would have to pay the people actually doing the work fairly instead of keeping it all for themselves. The horror! This battle, of course, ties into one of the biggest battles within the film itself, not against the vampires, but against a world trying to stop disenfranchised people in general, and black people in specific, from having any success or making anything for themselves.
It's taken a lot of time, commitment, energy, and I've missed out on a lot of things in my life, making films that will always be owned by other people.
As Tiana Clark wrote in her piece for the New York Times, why is it somehow out of line for a bankable auteur like Mr. Coogler, who has a $2.5 billion track record with box office juggernauts like Black Panther and Creed franchises? Instead of viewing Mr. Coogler's contract as a threat, why not criticize a movie industry that has exploited black talent since it began? Again, I know the answer, which is why I do not see Mr. Coogler's deal as a threat to what the Vulture article termed the time-honored industry power balance. The power was never in balance for black people to begin with. While this kind of deal might freak out the studio heads who see their jobs as just raking in hundreds of millions of dollars to delete completed films and drive IP into the ground, for the ones who actually want their companies to function and to continue to exist, it provides a great roadmap towards success. Actually allowing the creatives to have creative control over projects is obviously a good thing, but giving them the opportunity to have a genuine financial stake in the film's success and future helps them feel like they're truly getting to have their work as a part of their future and legacy, instead of just being forced to throw it into the Hollywood grinder and hope for the best. It also will allow those creatives to feel secure in their ability to continue to create and make projects while also being able to buy groceries and pay rent. While the starving artist trope might be glamorous on screen, in real life, financial insecurity just leads to pain, hardship, and people having to leave creative industries. So setting a path that sees creatives being paid fairly for their work is an important step towards salvaging Hollywood. As much as Hollywood bigwigs hem and haw about how people don't want to go to the theater anymore, clearly we are willing to go out and pay when a movie actually feels like it's worth it. Theaters have been in a slump post-COVID shutdowns, as Paul Blow wrote for Variety back in March before Sinners had released. Box office grosses haven't rebounded either. Ticket sales in 2024 fell to $8.7 billion, a 23.5% drop from pre-pandemic levels. It's a far cry from the nearly $11 billion industry was generating before the global health crisis. But Sinners' mega success makes it clear yet again that people are willing to go out to the theater to see something worthwhile. And it's also key that a huge part of Sinners' success came from word of mouth, not spending $11 billion on advertising. People went to see it not because they were told by 400 ads a day that it was the event of the summer, but because people they actually know told them it was good. People also want to have access to the media they love at home. In the same way people were hyped for IMAX, they'll also be willing to pay to have a physical copy of the film that they can watch at home whenever they want. So instead of framing it as an either-or, either a film must immediately do huge numbers opening weekend or be thrown onto the streaming pile to be forgotten immediately. Studios should see how Sinners' opening success grew even more through word of mouth as it was allowed to live in theaters over the weeks and return to the older model of allowing movies to find their footing in theaters and then, after a breather, releasing them on formats people can watch in their homes too. Like Psycho, Bonnie and Clyde, and Breathless, and other surprise hits that changed cinema forever, Sinners has the opportunity to turn things around for Hollywood at a time when it really needs a new direction. So now, only time will tell if the studios are willing to embrace the lessons of Sinner's success, or if they'll instead succumb to the darkness. That's The Take. Click here to watch a video we think you'll love, or here to check out a whole playlist of awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. And make sure to subscribe to our Patreon for exclusive new videos.